the Bears had a practice in front of 23,000 people at Soldier Field. Stark difference compared to the 59,000 who were in Lambeau Field. It was actually kind of funny seeing Soldier Field a little empty, really, for this Bears practice. Now there was like Lollapalooza going on. Chicago was a little bit more happening, so you could make up some excuses.
Had, what, 20 times the population in Green Bay and a third of the attendance.
So it was a little that was also in different ways a little eyebrow raising, but nonetheless, defense outperformed the offense on the day. Caleb had, there were ups and downs, but Ben Johnson came out after the practice, and we've all seen the videos of. Did you see the video of Caleb throwing at the passing targets, and he misses every target, and then goes like, "Damn it!" and like throws his hands up in the air. We're starting to see those videos come out more and more of just the struggles that Chicago has had as they're attempting to adapt the Ben Johnson offensive system. And, unfortunately, fortunately, depends what side you're on here, but Caleb has appeared to be struggling a bit. Ben came out afterwards and said, sloppier than we were hoping we'd be at this point. We had a couple really good practices over the last two, and then it took us a little while to get going. Hearing the pads click, I thought towards the end we picked it up. It got pretty competitive there. But on the day, it was not a particularly impressive display from the Bears' first team offense. And it kind of reminds me, remember when me and you used to go to the Notre Dame blue and gold games and they tried out the offenses? And I remember me and you were watching Phil Jerkovich one time, not to pick on Phil, but Phil just had a really bad day in the spring. And we're like, all right, I don't really see it. Ian
Book's okay. Ian Book's okay.
Yeah. Like Ian Book came out and he dominated. He looked great. And that's what this is. This isn't a preseason game. It's not a regular season game. It's competitive, but it's not high intensity. And you want to see your quarterback go out there and dominate. The day that we went and watched Notre Dame, Ian Book did what starters do, ran up and down the field, and Jerkovich really struggled. And it's to no one's surprise. Jerkovich went to Boston College, had some success, but never really panned out as an elite quarterback in college football. The difference here is, one, obviously they're college, but two, that was in the spring, months and months and months away from the season. We are less than a month away from the start of the NFL season right now.
Which is crazy.
Which is nuts. But Caleb is still having quite a bit of issues. And to me, it's concerning because the play clock and the delay of game penalties were a real challenge. If you didn't read up on what happened at this practice or see any reports, the Bears had at least 3 delay of game penalties during this practice where they were scrimmaging. And Ben Johnson said showed up more today than it has in practice. This was more like a real game, and if it continues like that, we're not going to win many games. So, despite forget the accuracy issues and the videos of Caleb, seemingly taking a sack and then nearly throwing interceptions. Like just from the very core of this, not getting snaps off, it plagued them last year. Is this to you beginning to get to the point where you would actually be concerned if you were a Bears fan?
So, first of all, I've got to give a shout out to my guy, Kyle Monangai, who was one of my sleepers in the draft and who might be dethroning DeAndre Swift, the engine of the Bears offense at running back. More seriously, the thing I'm worried about actually is not Caleb Williams' performance very much. Obviously, there's going to be ups and downs. The thing that worries me is that it seems to really be getting to Ben Johnson, right? This stuff about we were sloppy out there, I wasn't happy with how it looked. That didn't come from somebody asking him. He just said that. And I worry a little bit that he underestimated the job that he's going to have to do in Chicago. It was easy to look and see Caleb Williams, great prospect. You've got a lot of talent on this offense. It'll be fine. But now that he's been there, he's been talking about how things have been slower than he expected. He's been getting frustrated. Earlier in the offseason, we asked, what can Caleb Williams take from last year? And he said, absolutely nothing. It was a complete waste. I worry that, it's hard being a first-time NFL head coach, right? When you're a coordinator doing your own thing, that's a very different job than managing an entire team. And the thing that I'm starting to get a little bit worried about is that whatever long-term how good a head coach Ben Johnson is, he was a little overeager about what he could do early on, and that's going to lead to a slow start.
Yeah, you have to remember, too, with Detroit, right? When Dan Campbell came in there, that took a while reestablishing that culture. Yeah. It was ugly at first. What was the record? They were 0-9 before. I think they beat the Vikings, of course. But they got off to a really bad start there as well, even though a lot of the core players they drafted, but there were a lot of those guys were on those teams. It just took a while. when you're reestablishing an entire culture, it does not happen overnight. And
he's seen bad cultures, right? He was there for the last 2 years of those Patricia Lions. Like Ben Johnson knows.
No, so
he was also there for like Adam Gase time in Miami. Like it was just rough.
I have no problem right now. Like let's look at the two main guys in Chicago. Okay, there's the Ben Johnson side of things. Everything that he's doing, I love what I'm hearing. Every single guy has come out and they said he pushes you really hard. He holds you to a high standard. I think Luther Burden came out, who's been practicing really well with them. And he said, like, yeah, the bar's been raised. And Cole Kmet, the bar has been raised. Someone who's been there a while now. Shout out another Notre Dame guy. But that's what you want to hear if you're a Bears fan. Because it's been so long of, all right, we had Matt Nagy and then we had Eberflus and there was no accountability and things got out of control. And that was the disaster. What Ben Johnson's doing is right. It's just unfortunate that, yeah, it's going to take a little longer than you expect. What about Caleb, though? Is it like, is that concerning to you if you're a Chicago fan? Like the videos that are coming out, or is this because to me, I'm patience. I am. Let's cool down here. Let's see how it goes
You're
for
the
the first couple weeks.
McQueen.
Yeah, I am patience. I'm patience McThunder, and that's what I'm giving Caleb Williams some time to actually go out there. And I know it's year 2, and people want you to be playing really well by Thanksgiving of year 2. That's the time that most general managers have said is like when they start to really judge a quarterback. But that's still 3 months of the season away. And if Caleb's progressing nicely, as he did toward the end of last season, I think it's okay. You have to remember, they stripped everything down. So I'm not really concerned about this, even though I know people are coming out here right now and saying, let's sound the alarm bells. It's problems in Chicago. I think this is just sort of the process they're going to go through.
For me, in my Caleb Williams mental updating, I'm looking at Thanksgiving of year 3 rather than Thanksgiving of year 2. I'm inclined to agree with Ben Johnson that last year was just a disaster. Caleb Williams had 3 different head coaches, 3 different offensive coordinators and 2 different head coaches in one season. Like, do you realize that, like, NFL teams, most of what they spend their offseason doing is installing new packages and updating the offense for all the coordinators that left.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, they hired a bad coordinator at the start. Then they replaced him. Then they replaced that guy in the middle of the season. So it's impossible, I think, to learn very much in that kind of situation. So am I worried about Caleb Williams? Not really. I still think he's talented. I still think he had a fine rookie season. Like his rookie season, people are often acting like it was terrible. It wasn't. He threw for 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 3,500 yards. Now, some of that was garbage time. He came alive a little bit more towards the end of the season, but like, that's not terrible. It wasn't Bryce Young. So I think you need to be more patient with Caleb just because. I'm sorry, Bryce Young had a much worse rookie season.
He did.
You must admit.
No. He absolutely did. He absolutely did.
Bryce Young had one of the worst rookie seasons we've seen from a longtime starter in his rookie year.
Yeah, a number 1 pick too. Yeah.
With respect to Caleb Williams, I think you have to be patient with him. And I think Ben Johnson deep down knows that. But it has got to be frustrating to see a team with so much talent just not executing the basics well because they've never been coached on how to do it. Lincoln Riley sure isn't coaching Caleb Williams on the basics. Whatever happened last year certainly didn't help.
I actually think that it's great too that Ben Johnson's coming out and saying these things though. Now, if he came out and said Caleb's job's in jeopardy, or if he came out and said something like Caleb really needs to fix this or else, this is the National Football League, that I think is a dumb thing to say. But he's just saying we're sloppy. We need to improve. Everything the Bears fans want to hear. Now, like, I know we don't talk a lot of baseball here, but here in New Jersey, as a Yankee fan, Aaron Boone gets a lot of heat because he'll come out and say everything we want is right in front of us. And Yankee fans get pissed off. And you actually saw John Boy Media came out and they were interviewing Boone and we're like, Aaron, we're on the verge of missing the wild card. And you keep coming out and saying like everything's in front of us. We know that. We want to see the results. And eventually when you give those sorts of answers, fans and media start to ask questions. They're like, all right, well, can we just address, like, there's an obvious elephant in the room here that we just stink. So I actually like that Ben Johnson's coming out here and saying, we need to fix this. And Caleb Williams is someone too. You mentioned Lincoln Riley. How many times in Caleb Williams' career do you think he's had a coach like where he's not kind of in charge. You know, like Caleb, I know he wasn't in charge at USC, but he also kind of called the shots to a degree. And this is a coach who is holding him extremely accountable. I mean, I think that's very good for Caleb's growth. Even think of the draft. Remember, Caleb's coming out and I might not want to be a Bear. Like Ben Johnson doesn't take crap. And that's what this organization really needs. So I think you're fine to just calm down a bit if you're a Bears fan. And don't go crazy listed, because everyone's going to come out and say it's a big problem. But let's call it a big problem in late November if it's still an issue. Let's not. It's August.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you want Caleb Williams to play a very different kind of football than he did last year. Like, people sit back and wonder, why is Caleb Williams throwing so many borderline interceptions? Because they're trying to train him to not take 70 sacks again.
But this is where we have to also be fair, Ziggy, is that there are some of these plays that are leaking out. And again, sometimes you have the bad plays will go viral on social media and you're not seeing all the good stuff. But there have been a number of plays where you're going, wow, all right, throw the football. Like, get rid of the football.
Yeah, I mean, but there have also been plays where you think he got rid of it too quickly or that was aggressive. Yeah. Like, it's practice, right? At the end of the day, you cannot overreact to bad plays you see in practice, especially when you're trying to build this guy from the ground up. You're trying to build an offense from the ground up. You're trying to build skills and competencies. That's always rough. Anybody who's ever started something serious knows, like, the beginning's the hardest part. So just let it happen.
Yeah. But I think this could look ugly in the beginning of the year. Like, going into Chicago on Monday Night Football, like this Viking Bear game with JJ's first start and Caleb's first game with Ben Johnson. Like, as an NFC North fan, I'm really excited for it. I think Packers and Lions fans would also are really intrigued to watch this game. But it could be an ugly game. We're talking about two quarterbacks who will probably make a lot of mistakes, two good defenses who will be trying to force mistakes and probably succeeding. But I wouldn't be surprised if, these delay of game penalties and the extending plays, if that lingers into week one and is beneficial for us at the very least.
But, Caleb Williams, arguably his best game of the entire season last year was against the Vikings.
He really turned it on late in that game. That was that was late Caleb playing awesome.
Yeah, but the Vikings fumbled. The game goes to overtime, it's not garbage.
No, it wasn't. But we were in control of that game.
I get it.
Yeah,
but all that means is we know Caleb Williams can explode against the Vikings given the right opportunity.
Yeah, so no, anyone can explode against the Vikings given the right opportunity.